YouTube is Rico, man. Back with another video. Y'all know what time it is, man. We got things NBA players said about LeBron James, and y'all already know what time it is. On the channel, y'all know I don't react to just one thing. I've been reacting to a lot of violent stuff and all type of stuff in the past few days. So today is that day where I'm gonna bring something different vibe for today's video. So y'all sit tight and go ahead, hit that like and subscribe button if you're brand new to the channel, or you've been watching videos on the channel but for some reason not subscribed yet. And also don't forget to leave a comment on the video. Now when y'all do all those things, that's going to help this video get recommended to a larger audience of people and hopefully bring in new supporters to the channel and help us reach 5K. Also don't forget to tell your friends and family about us as well. But other than that, man, y'all see what's going on. I'm finna start the screen recording now. That's starting the video now.
You know, it's one game and we'll respond.
Can you describe the challenge it is defensively when LeBron?
No challenge.
But particularly the end of the game.
No challenge.
Can you describe what it's like as a defender to when he tries to force the
not hard at all.
Hard?
Patrick Beverly.
I can't tell, man, because the last two games of last season, y'all pretty much couldn't stop him, man. He hit a game winner on y'all, and on top of that, he was getting good numbers. So the last two games of last season was definitely good for the LeBron and Lakers against the Clippers and stuff. So they took care of business. Y'all know what happened. The rest is history. They won the finals and everything. Clippers got put out in the second round to Denver, and that was a crazy series, man. Nobody ever would have thought that the Denver Nuggets was going to eliminate the Clippers. Everybody was waiting for that Clippers-Lakers matchup in the conference finals and stuff to get to the finals, but we didn't get it, and it is what it is, man. Y'all got to try to get there this year, though, man, because y'all been talking for too long ever since y'all got Kawhi and PG. So hopefully y'all face each other in the conference finals this year and go from there. But other than that, yeah, man, people whoever says LeBron ain't no challenge on when he's on offense and they're on defense, they're lying, man. They just trying to say that because they don't want to really appreciate the man for what he's able to do and accomplish in his overall career. Everybody just think his career is just easy to do. Like, the things he accomplished and stuff is just easy and ain't that great, but it is what it is, man. Y'all know what kind of hate and scrutiny and criticism Brian gets 24/7 on a daily. Mugs can't wait to see him do something wrong. So it is what it is, man. But let's continue.
You're tripping for saying Braun isn't a challenge. He knows damn well he's more than a challenge. But Patrick Beverly is a guy who likes to get under people's skin, so I understand why he said that.
James attacking. And that was the second shot. Look out, James. And Beverly in a straight easy there.
Braun did also struggle against the Clippers all season, only averaging 21 points, shooting 36%. But at the end of the season, Braun won the finals and finals MVP, while Pat Bev was at home watching him do that.
Can you lock up LeBron?
This game was too simple. He just big. Scottie Pippen for shut his ass down quick before I get to him.
And people gotta realize Rodman is actually smaller than y'all think. Just because he played as a big, this is what a lot of people don't realize, especially in the new generation. Rodman wasn't really an actual big. Like, he was 6'7". So at the end of the day, he's 2 inches shorter than LeBron, and they probably weigh about the same though in terms of play weight. Like, they probably weigh about the same, 220, 230, 240, 250, whatever the case is. We know LeBron is bigger than 220. He at least like 240, 250. And Rodman, I think he's about 220. Maybe he might be up there in 240 range. Who knows? I can't remember. I'm going to have to go actually look that up and see what his playing weight was again. But I know for sure his height was 6'7". So that's pretty much a standard size for a small forward, power forward. But the thing is that made Rodman so successful guarding bigs in the 90s is due to the simple fact he was pesky. He could get in their head. He would do things that would make the players get off their game and stuff and play into his antics and stuff like that to make them somewhat bothered by his defense. But at the end of the day, the stuff he was doing, y'all already know and can clearly tell that the way he played in the 90s wouldn't work in today's era. He would really have to play real defense without the antics and stuff, because nowadays they will hurry up and blow a whistle for anything they deem that's not basketball defense. They'll call a flagrant on a simple little shove if somebody is in the air. It don't even necessarily got to be a real shove. Like, it could be a trying to go for the ball, or you just happen to move a certain way type of shove, and they'll call that as a flagrant or something crazy like that. But when you jaw jacking with each other and stuff, they're going to also call fouls or technical, whatever you want to say. They're not going to let that last too long, and they're going to tell y'all to play the game and stop talking and all that stuff. So at the end of the day, the stuff he did in the 90s, it wouldn't work out too well in this era, but he would still be a problem on defense. Don't get me wrong, because he still got the body and the size to put on anybody he wants to guard, pretty much at the end of the day. But as far as the antics and stuff, like I said, majority of that stuff wouldn't work in today's NBA. And that's just a fact, man, because of the rules and stuff like that. But back in the day, even LeBron would still be able to dominate because, one, a lot of players his size or even bigger can't even stop him from getting into the rim if he really wanted to get to the rim. It's going to take a whole bunch of help defense or zone defense to really do something to LeBron where he's going to have an off night. We've seen that throughout his career. Teams putting double teams, sometimes playing 3-2 zone, 2-3 zone. They do all that. That's the only way they was able to contain LeBron from having a great game throughout his career. But come 2010s, 2011, we seen what the Mavs did. They used zone defense and a lot of switches and stuff that asked for a lot of help defense as well from players that was on Bron. So pretty much it wasn't never just one ISO matchup that Bron had to worry about when he played the Mavs. The Mavs, we seen them adjust into the zone. And even Mark Cuban explained all of this, and they basically forced him to play from the perimeter when he wasn't even a great perimeter player, especially around that year. But after that series, 2012, we seen him develop a better jumper and stuff like that, so where the teams wouldn't be able to really use zone against him. The only way the zone was going to be great against a team like his was only if the players around him wasn't hitting their shots and stuff. Because we seen Bryant develop really well with the offense and on top of that, the playmaking. So now that he got a better consistent jumper and playmaking, it's hard for teams to really use zone against him anymore now. That's why we don't even see them doing it a lot of the times now against his team. So it's only going to be a point where his teammates are probably not hitting their shots is when the zone is actually going to work against him and his team. And that's it. Other than that, he knows how to beat a zone now, especially with a better offense and a reliable jumper now, way better than it was in 2011 up to now. But other than that, man, I don't care what nobody say. On the matchup one-on-one with Bryant, it's going to be hard, especially with whatever rules you want to use at the end of the day. You can use 90s rules. You can use the current era rules. Bryant is going to be too big at the end of the day, especially in the 90s. And in the 90s, if they wasn't really calling fouls when people was really, really using their weight to get around players and stuff like that, he going to truck them. It's just that simple. The only way they're going to call a charge is if somebody is actually in charge position. Because sometimes now even we see them get a lot of blocking fouls as well as some charges against Bron. Because sometimes you actually got to have your feet set and everything for you to get the charge call to go your way. Other than that, let's continue.
People look at me like I'm crazy as fuck. He's so fucking easy to play. He don't have any moves.
Come on, Rodman. How you gonna say LeBron has no moves? He's the last person to be talking about someone that has no moves because he doesn't even have any moves himself. Rodman was a great player, but it wasn't because of his offense. It was because of his defense. Bron averages 27 points per game for his career. There's no way a person that averages that much doesn't have any moves. And Bron has a lot of moves, but two of my favorites are his spin move and his look away step back three.
So for each team. The one team I wouldn't want to face would be the Los Angeles Clippers.
And people will also discredit Bryant heavily on his skill set. Yeah, we know he ain't the best skilled player. It's okay to admit that. But at the end of the day, y'all can't be saying that he don't have skills at all. A person playing in their career averaging 27, 7, and 7 gotta have some skill. It's just impossible to have them numbers and not have any type of skill whatsoever at all. So we gotta stop this false narrative that he don't have skills and stuff like that. He definitely got skills. It may not be the best, it may not be the best looking in the way he does them and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it works for him because it's him. He's doing what works best for him. Obviously, he got the numbers to back all of that up. So we can't say that he doesn't have no skill, let alone no skill whatsoever at all. You just gotta stop the false narratives, man. It's okay to say, yeah, he got some skills, but I feel like those skills wouldn't work against me. Now that's different. That's putting more context. That's being truthful. That's being factual. But hey, well, the only time it's gonna be factual is if you actually really do what you said you would do against him. That's the only way that's gonna be made factual. But everybody has their opinions. But we gotta stop the disrespect of, oh, it's only just criticism. Yeah, but your criticism has a lot of false narrative and it don't have full context, and you pretty much don't show any real respect towards his game when you say stuff like that. It just don't. So it is what it is, though. But at the end of the day, when this man is gone, the league is definitely going to feel the impact of him being out the league and stuff like that. People is going to really learn to appreciate his game, hopefully, by the time he retires, and know what he meant to the game. Because at the end of the day, everybody knows Bryant is a once-in-a-lifetime generational player, period. Especially in the modern day basketball. He was lucky to be a part of Kobe's career and even past it. And Kobe on his way out even got to see the league evolving from 1 through 5 and all type of crazy things where everybody just got crazy athleticism, speed, talent overall, able to play perimeter defense now, can't camp in the lane no more because of the 3-second rule. And pretty much too, a lot of stretch bigs being made too now. Now bigs is shooting the perimeter range threes and stuff. They're shooting mid ranges. They doing all of that. So the game definitely evolved from the 90s up to now, man. People got to respect that and just realize that. Simple. And there's more talent overall for every position. Period.
Just remarkable. James spins, gets inside, layup is good. Lakers have done an excellent job of limiting three-point shooting as LeBron James.
You feel like you can break LeBron at this point?
We broke LeBron.
In Game 5.
So get your ass out of here with that, all right? You understand how you got the Cleveland, how you got the Miami Bill?
And we already all know how KG was feeling, man. We already know KG is just Boston overall, from Paul Pierce to KG. They're the only two that's just trying hard to bash LeBron in any way they can. At the end of the day, they teamed up together, whether it was via trade, free agency, whatever the case is, they still teamed up. They made a big four, they made a big three, whatever, because you could say they arguably had a big four. Rondo don't get a lot of respect as it is either. Rondo was actually a big piece in Boston winning a championship, let alone getting to a finals 2 times. Rondo, with his playmaking and ability to run the offense and stuff, is basically behind LeBron and Magic. He's one of the best point guards in the NBA has ever seen. So and in terms of playmaking, he's up there with Bron, Magic, and as well as CP3. CP3, the only reason why he don't get a lot of recognition is just because he has not yet got to a finals yet. And that's the only thing CP3 has on his resume that hurt his career a little bit, is that he never got to a finals with any team, even when his team had the talent. But it's a lot of factors that played into why those teams never made it to the finals, not just solely on him. People got to also realize you can't put blame on the superstars a lot like y'all want to do, because of the simple fact they could go out there and have crazy numbers and still lose if their team overall is not doing great in that series. So I don't care what nobody say. if Jordan, Bron, or Kobe was to drop 60 in the game, which Kobe and Jordan did and still lost in some games, Bron, he only had one 60-point game, but he won that, so we can't really factor him in too much into this topic. But those guys can go drop 60, Jordan and Kobe, in any game. But if their team is not great overall, they might not win that game, or they might not win a series. Period. They team always, everybody's superstars or not, your team got to have overall great teamwork and everybody doing their roles perfectly, let alone without little to no problems at all. That's pretty much what a champion is at the end of the day in the NBA season. So your team got to have chemistry, overall teamwork. They got to all be doing their roles. Everybody got to know their roles. People can't be out there, I feel like I could go drop 20, but that ain't your role. That ain't why you on the team, though. So you can't be going out here just trying to chuck up shots just because you believe you can drop 20 a game. Everybody got to do their roles and stay in their lane and go from there and make sure they execute the team system and everything they need to do to win, pretty much at the end of the day. So like I said, anybody can say, oh, I broke this player and made him go to this team. But at the end of the day, when you talk full context, like I said, you had a big three, arguably a big four. Ray Allen, KG, Pierce, and Rondo. And Cavs had who? Just Bron and Mo Williams. And the old Big Z that wasn't really a factor in a lot of series that they lost. Because there's a lot of series we could go down where players behind Bron wasn't really doing what they were supposed to do to help Bron win. So a lot of that you gotta put into full context and with the facts and truth behind it. Simple.
Remember that?
True, you broke him in
Okay, so
2010.
remember that, all right?
Fair
So
enough.
stop bringing that up, all right?
Fair.
Kevin Garnett is talking about he broke LeBron, but he really didn't. The only reason why the Celtics beat the Cavs in 08 and 2010.
See, look at that defense right there. What I tell y'all, you got 3 players on Bron right here. And people want to talk about, oh, but Bron is the GOAT. He supposed to been doing this and stuff. They only saying that because they don't like people saying Bron is their GOAT. This is what a lot of the problem is with guys from Jordan fans to LeBron fans to Kobe fans. A lot of people want to bash Bron so much about losing in finals and losing to the Celtics and stuff like that, but don't want to talk about the times Jordan had to face a big 4, big 5, or whatever the case was and lost. The difference is he met those teams in the first rounds, not the finals. Bron met some of those teams in the finals and lost. We can talk about 07. We could talk about 2015. We could talk about 2014. We could talk about 2017, 2018. We could talk about all of that. And one thing all those teams had was 3 to 4 All-Stars / Hall of Famers in those years I just mentioned. And some of them happened to be Finals MVPs, Parker, Tim Duncan. Some of them had to be MVPs, Steph Curry, KD. And also, basically, KD got 2 Finals MVPs. So Brown was playing against not only 2 MVP caliber players in the 2017-2018 series, but also one had 2 Finals MVPs, pretty much 2017-2018. KD won, so we can factor that in too. He's pretty much a regular season MVP and Finals MVP 2 times. And then you got Curry, who was a 2-time MVP as well. So you facing those 2 caliber players. Don't get me wrong, you had Kyrie. Yeah, Kyrie was great, but his numbers wasn't outperforming Steph Curry. They were about the same. They canceled each other out. Kevin Love, him and Klay Thompson canceled each other out. KD, him and Bron canceled each other out. What made the Warriors win those 2017 series when they had Kyrie, except for when he left in 2018, was they had better bench depth. They had bench that can come in and continue to push the system, the offense, and everything on the defense as well. They had a mixture of great offensive players and defensive players in that second unit. And on top of that, if they wanted to, they could keep Steph, Clay, or KD on the court, and while the other two go to the bench, whatever the case is. And then on top of that, Draymond too was in there as well. He was a playmaker, a defensive anchor as well. And plus, what people don't want to talk about is Warriors had 3 bodies that they could put on Bron. You had KD, Dre, and Iggy. All 3 of those guys played a role in guarding Bron. Not just KD, not just Iggy, not just Dre. They all played a role in putting the body on Bron to make him work. But we can't say the same for the Cavs having to guard KD. They only really realistically had 2 players that could really guard or at least make KD work, which was Jeff Green and LeBron. So if my math is not off, Warriors 3 bodies to put on Bron is better than the Cavs 2 bodies that they could put on KD. So it's a lot of factors into how the finals went out in 2017. So people got to realize the facts and talk full context when they bring up 2017. All but LeBron, Kev, and Kyrie, they were equal to KD, Steph, and Clay. But y'all got to factor in the rest of those guys on that team from the Golden State Warriors versus the Cavs, the rest of the team, period. And you easily can say Golden State Warriors was a better overall team than that Cavs team. So I don't care what nobody talking about. If you go look at the games and stuff and watch how everybody was doing their role of Golden State and versus the Cavs, you'll see why Golden State basically was really the better team overall, period. But other than that, it is what it is. But like I said, on this play, man, you had 3 guys guarding Bron when he was driving to the basket. I can't tell who that is right there. I could tell that's Pierce. And then you got KG and Ray Allen waiting right there. So that's his own defense, y'all. You got players like Mo Williams, and I don't even know who Buddy is in the corner for the Cavs, but it's blurred out a little bit. But if you can see clearly, none of those guys on the perimeter really has somebody that's sticking close to them, trying to make sure they ain't getting open looks and stuff. Because the one thing is, they want those players to beat them. They don't want LeBron to beat them. They want those players to beat them too. So that's why too he was losing to the Celtics in the 2000s. The Celtics didn't give a fuck about the players around Bron. They only cared about Bron. They was making sure they played zone. That way they can make sure he's got to be forced to either make a tough offensive play or pass the ball out to somebody that's going to have a 50-50 chance of knocking a shot down. So that's all they did at the end of the day to beat the Celtics. I don't care what nobody talking about. You can clearly see it right here on this one play.
In 08 and 2010,
3 guys worried about
they had the way better team. In 08, Bron's starting 5 was him, Delonte West, Ilgauskas, Ben Wallace, and Wally Serviak. And in 2010, his start
and the old Bill and Wallace at that. And then on top of this team, older Antoine Jameson and an older Shaq. None of those guys was clearly what they was in their primes in the early 2000s. People don't want to talk about that, though. They just want to talk about the resume and make it seem like that resume somewhat validates them in current year. No. We got to judge them by that current year. That current year, those guys did not put up the numbers they had from their prime years, period. You can't use their overall career to bash LeBron and downplay and knock on them and stuff like that for losing to those Celtics teams and stuff like that. You just can't. It don't make sense at all. And that's why people don't like to talk full context when we debate basketball about LeBron, Jordan, and Kobe. It's always going to be false narratives involved. It's going to be a lot of people leaving out full context. There's going to be a lot of people glossing over factors into why those players' careers were better in terms of winning championships over Bron's career winning championships. So it's a lot of factors, man. We all know to this day LeBron has faced the better finals competition in NBA history. Especially if this year they go to the finals and the Nets happen to make it to that finals. Come on now. Best finals competition in history, hands down, if they face the Nets. This already hands down regardless just because of the Spurs and Warriors in the 2010s, but people ain't going to want to really appreciate that and acknowledge that as a fact. It's just they just won't. They won't. Period.
Starting five was Mo Williams, Antoine Jameson, Anthony Parker, and a 37-year-old Shaq. Meanwhile, the Celtics had 4 Hall of Famers on their team. Of course, they were supposed to win. And I'm surprised both of these series went to 7 and 6 games with the team.
3 players. Hold on. We finna go back and review that play real quick.
4 Hall of Famers on their team. Of course, they were supposed to win. And
I don't know why YouTube acting up right now. It's just acting weird and slow.
And I'm surprised both of these series went to 7 and 6 games with the team Braun had. Once Braun left, though, and had a better
Hold on, guys, because this thing is just going crazy right now.
4 Hall of Famers on their team. Of course, they were supposed to win. And I'm surprised both of these series went to 7 and 6 games.
Alright, see, you seen, I couldn't even tell who that was that pretty much tried to take a charge, but you had Rondo and all those guys just sitting in the paint waiting for Bron pretty much to make his move. So that right there just shows you how much the Celtics was really winning for a reason. They were only taking away the impact of Bron, or trying to take away the impact of Bron, while trying to make his teammates make plays to beat them. They wasn't worried about the teammates at all in either one of those series. So people don't want to talk about that, though. But it is what it is, though. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know what's going on with this video right now, especially on YouTube. Like, it's really just acting weird right now, which is frustrating. Well, I'm going to figure out what's going on with this, and I'm going to get right back to you guys. We back. I just got everything situated, so now hopefully it shouldn't be doing this anymore. But let's start the screen record. That started. And like I said, we finna see this play right here that just proved what I just said about the Celtics beating LeBron and the Cavs.
Celtics had 4 Hall of Famers on their team. Of course they were supposed to win. And I'm surprised.
I still can't even tell who just tried to take that charge. It might have been Pierce. But look at how you got Perkins, you got KG, you got Rondo, and you got Ray Allen paying no attention to Mo Williams on the perimeter. And I believe that's probably Parker. I can't remember his first name, but Parker in the corner. Then you got Jameson in the corner. Ain't nobody even looking at him and worried about him. But look how the rest of the guys from the Celtics is just about to collapse on Bron to try to stop him.
Both of these series went to 7 and 6 games.
Come on now.
Bron had
4 players on the Celtics just sitting in the paint, ready, waiting.
The first series, they played each other with Bron on the Heat in 2011. He averaged 28 points, 8 boards, and 3 assists, beating them in 5 games.
And that's because of the simple fact, it wasn't because they got old, but people don't want to talk about that too as well. They want to talk about how Celtics was old in 2011, 2012. They really wasn't that old. They obviously got to the conference finals in those years, 2011, 2012. They had a good team overall record. People got to realize they ain't just competing against the East teams. They were beating West teams. Their overall regular season record isn't just from mostly coming against East teams. They're also beating Western Conference teams as well to get the record that they had. So people got to stop the false narrative that, oh, those teams was old. They was only great for the East. No, they weren't. They were beating West teams in the regular season and beating them great. They also went on a big win streak that first year, I believe, because the Miami Heat went on a 17 to close to 20 game win streak, I think it was. And the Celtics was doing the same exact thing. They went on a big 14, 15 game win streak as well. So people got to stop the false narratives that the Celtics was old by the time Bron got to Miami. No, they weren't. They were a great team. It's just Bron had a better team than he did against the Cavs. And that's why the Celtics wasn't really able to use that zone that much against the Miami Heat. Because now you had Bosh, you had Wade, and you had other role player guys that were going to be a threat to Boston that they really had to worry about now because Bron actually got help and better help than he did on the Cavs teams. That's why they beat the Celtics the first year in 5 games. They almost lost the second year, but Bron went crazy in that game 6. Was it game 6 or game 5? It was one of those games. Bron went crazy, dropped 40, whatever the case was, and then they came back and won game 7. Yeah, it was game 6. Bron had that monster game because they was down 3-2. And that 2 right there just proved that that Celtics team wasn't old. They were competing. They were one of the best teams that year. So people got to stop the false narratives that the Celtics were old by the time he got to Miami. No, they weren't. They were still competing. They put up a great fight even in that second year that Bron was in Miami. So after that, they lost in 7. Bron went crazy, and that was it. The rest is history. So people got to stop the nonsense that Bron pretty much was getting broken by the Celtics. Like, he didn't get broken. They was just a better team overall in the East in the late 2000s, period. So Bron had to go somewhere to get help and beat them, because nobody was coming to the Cavs. People also don't want to talk about that either. Cavs have been on record to be collapsing deals that potentially could have happened to help Bron. They didn't. They could have got Amari Stoudemire. What a lot of people don't know is Cavs were able to get Amari Stoudemire only if they traded away a draft pick in J.J. Hickson. And y'all probably gonna be like, who the hell is J.J. Hickson? Go look at that Cavs roster back in the 2000s and look up whenever year J.J. Hickson got to the team. J.J. Hickson was supposed to be traded for Amari Stoudemire. That's all the Phoenix Suns wanted. They wanted J.J. Hickson and probably some money, and they were going to give them Amari Stoudemire. And we're talking about the prime Amari Stoudemire. But guess what? Cavs did not want to do the deal. They wanted to keep Hickson, and the trade fell through, so that never happened. But a lot of people don't know that when they talk about, oh, Bron had to leave to get help. Yeah, he had to leave because the team wasn't doing nothing that they possibly could to help him get help. So people gotta do their research, man, and just stop trying to always bash Bron and stuff like that, man. Y'all gotta look at the facts. Facts is Cavs was never a good franchise to do anything for him. So it is what it is. He had to leave. They finally built to where he could come back once they got Kyrie and Love. The only thing is they didn't win the first year due to the simple fact Kyrie and Love got hurt. And that team that year easily, I would say, could have won that series against the Golden State Warriors. But like I said, man, y'all gotta come with full context and facts to really talk about this. And y'all see now they gotta play ISO plays pretty much now too, because one, they can't count on the zone defense, leaving Wade and Bosh and whoever else is on the court with them open. Now you see Pierce just really got to do more in terms of one-on-one defense. Match one man. So, man-to-man, he couldn't really do anything that was going to stop Bron from going off. That's just what it is.
Then in 2012, he averaged 33 points, 11 boards, and 4 assists.
And James, left hand is James quickly down the other end. And pointer for LeBron James. James pulls up another 2.
And see, those looks he was getting, he wasn't getting those as a Cavs player. He wasn't getting that wide open of a shot as a Cavs player due to the simple fact that team wasn't great. It was just that simple.
Dude said, oh, man, why you talking about Dame Leonard being the best player in the NBA? He never got past the second round. I said, hold up, man. What he doing as a human being and playing basketball on the court, it rectifies what he's doing.
I got a lot of respect for Stephon Marbury since he's from New York and I'm from there too. But he lost his mind saying Damian Lillard is better than Bron. Dame was going crazy in the...
I'm not even going to acknowledge that. Like, that's just stupid talk. That's just hate talk. That's just somebody trying to try hard, way too hard, to say something wrong about Bron. It's just that simple. We all know Damian Lillard not the best player. Y'all already know that. If you got basketball IQ in the brain, you know that for a fact. Damian Lillard is nowhere near better.
bubble, and he's definitely one of the best players in the NBA, but he's not on LeBron's level. When they played each other in the playoffs, Dame averaged 24 points, 4 assists, and 3 boards, shooting 40% from the field and 39% from 3. Meanwhile, Bron averaged 27 points, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists, shooting 60% from the field and 46% from 3.
Shot for the Lakers here in the second. He gets some early duty. James layup.
The head fake and LeBron didn't even bite.
3, Davis. It goes to LeBron. LeBron with 2 hands.
You can't shoot. LeBron, how you gonna say you're better than Michael Jordan and you can't shoot? You can't make a fucking free throw, man.
Stephon Marbury is also tripping for saying that too. How you gonna say Bron can't shoot, but he shoots better than you? For Bron,
That's just what it is, man. Once people want to do all that and want to talk facts, and then it's a different story. It is what it is, man. You gotta appreciate them at one point. It's just that simple. Might not be able to shoot as good as an MJ or Kobe, but we can bring up the clutch shots and all that. And guess what? Bron got the better clutch percentage in 10 seconds or less. And he hits more all time over Kobe and MJ. So, but Bron ain't no killer or an assassin, whatever the case is, though. That's another false narrative. Then on top of that, we could talk about true shooting percentage, field goal percentage, and 3-ball percentage. Guess what? Mike and Kobe only got a better free throw percentage over Bron in terms of scoring the ball. So,
Bron's career, he shoots 34% from 3 while making 1.5 a game. Stephon Marbury for his career only shot 32% from 3 while making 1.2 a game. Bron also had a year where he shot 40% from 3. Stephon Marbury never had a season shooting 40% from 3.
This is his 3rd year. He's not no real Laker. He just wanted to be a Laker. Lakers is like Magic, Kobe. Like, those are Lakers.
The Lakers Mount Rushmore, you don't think LeBron can ever make it onto it?
Why?
I'm just asking.
And he really had the nerve to not call him a real Laker, and he can't make the Laker Mount Rushmore. I don't know what he has against LeBron, but he needs to chill out with these comments. They're outrageous. Bron is definitely a real Laker, and he's already on the Lakers Mount Rushmore after leading them to a championship. I have a feeling they're going to win 2 more championships too.
We have better players than him in his position already on our team.
And then soft from Carlos Boozer and other guys on the Cavs, Darius Miles or whoever. Not Darius Miles, but maybe it was. I can't remember for sure. It was one of those people, but they was already hating on him coming in. They already said they had better players at his position. He was just going to be another one of the guys on the team that's just on the team for whatever reason. But sadly mistaken, once he had that first overall game against the Sacramento Kings, he submitted that he was about to be that player that they didn't want to really acknowledge at all. Like, he was really that guy, and that's the reason why he came straight from high school to the NBA and not have to go to college. So you gotta have the facts in full context to back things up that they say. And once you do that, then you can have these type of opinions that really make sense. But a lot of this stuff don't make sense that these guys saying. Period.
Add to what we need and just make things a little bit easier. I don't think you can really just bring a high school player in.
Yep, it was Darius Miles. I was right.
And really just think your team gonna really turn around like that.
Every time I see this, I can't help but laugh. Carlos Boozer really said they had better players already, which was completely false. Soon as Bron got over there, he was the best player, and he was nowhere near as good as he is now. And
instantly became the number 1 guy for either taking a shot or playmaking with the ball easily, automatically. And they said he wasn't gonna have that type of talent. Come on, man.
Darius Miles really said, I don't think you could just bring a high school player in and turn your team around. That's true for most high school players going straight to the league like him, but Bron is a different breed. What he did for the Cavs right away was crazy. The year before he got there, they only won 17 games. After his first year, they won 35. He's the only player to get drafted out of high school and average 20 points for his first year. He brought the Cavs to the playoffs in just his third season, and he led them to the finals in just his fourth season.
If KD was healthy, I would go KD, but since he's not healthy, I got to go with the King.
Yes, of course. Right.
Yeah, if KD wasn't hurt, I'm going with KD.
There you go.
KD is one of my favorite players, and he's one of the best players of all time.
And let's be realistic. When people talk about KD and Bron, they don't want to bring up the fact that Bron does more than just offense. KD does not have an all-NBA defensive player achievement. He doesn't have a top 5 defensive player of the year recommendation in any season. And on top of that, he went to a team that he lost a 3-1 lead to the previous year, which is 2017. From 2016 to 2017. 2016, he lost to the Warriors 3-1 with Russ when they had the season well in their hands to put them away to go to the finals to face Bron for a second time. They didn't do it. He joined that team. Then that's when he finally actually won. But look at the players he had around him. And then on top of that, he went to a team that beat him. Bron never joined the team that beat him in the playoffs. Another false narrative that people want to bring up about Bron going elsewhere to win is the same as KD. It's not. KD went to a team that already won a chip without him, won against them the year before, and already had an MVP on that team.
Steven Jackson is bugging for saying he would take a healthy KD this year over LeBron. Even though Bron is getting...
In Miami, they didn't win a title for what? From 2006 to 2010? Pretty much 4 years. That was 4 years before Bron ever went to Miami. And on top of that, the year before that, they lost to Boston, I think in the first round or whatever the case was. And their team overall record wasn't even great either, because I think they was the 8th seed. They were one of those seeds where they just wasn't that great at all. Bron went back to the Cavs. Cavs, the previous year before he went back in 2015, was in the lottery. They traded for Kevin Love. They already had drafted Kyrie the year before, or whatever the case was, like a year or two before that. And they still weren't going nowhere. So then Bron looked at that team and he said, y'all get Kevin Love, who was a free agent that same year he was getting ready to make his decision. They went ahead, did that. Then that's when he went there. So people got to stop the false narratives. Like, he just went to teams that was great already. Those teams, if he never went to those teams, they wouldn't even be close to top 5 in the Eastern Conference at all. It is what it is.
Older, he's still the best player in the league. But I don't really mind him saying that since KD is right up there with him. But one thing I don't like is when people say KD is the best scorer ever, but nobody ever says that about LeBron. For their careers, Bron averages 0.1 more points than KD in the regular season.
Another false narrative. Bron ain't a great scorer. You can't be a great scorer who averages 27 points per game for his career and got 30K points. And you know what excuse they gonna make? Longevity. It don't matter, longevity or no longevity. He's able to hit 30K points. 30K. You gotta have some type of offense to hit 30K no matter how long you've been in the league.
While being more efficient than him.
Also, too, one thing I didn't touch on was people talking about Jordan was able to go to the playoffs his first 2 years. Okay, now when you talk full context, you won't talk about the fact that the Bulls, those first 2 years, only won 30-plus games. In today's NBA, 30-plus ain't definitely going to cut it to make a playoff spot. 2, there were less teams in the league around those years that Jordan went to the playoffs with a 30-plus win record. If you were to do that in this current era, that Bulls team is not making the playoffs with just 30-plus wins. They will have to at least win 45 or more games to make a playoffs. The Cavs didn't make it because of the simple fact the Cavs wasn't great at all the first 2 years. They only got better once 2005 came along. They made some moves. They got I think got Larry Hughes one of those seasons. Big Z was already there. Boozer got traded or whatever the case was. He was gone. Darius Miles was gone. It was a lot of players off of that 2003, 2004 Cavs team that was gone. And they made some newer additions and stuff like that. Then that's when they started making traction to make a playoffs and so on and so on after that 2004 season. So it is what it is, though. People ain't going to bring up full context because they can't do it, and they won't do it because they know the simple fact that the shit they say won't be supported if they talk full context and actual facts. Period.
And Bron only averages 0.3 less points in the postseason than KD, but he's slightly more efficient than him. So I don't know why nobody ever mentions Bron in the convo for one of the best scorers ever.
This type of behavior is not... When you're the face of the NBA, I think you should be more a part of your team. And right now, we see he doesn't really care.
Walt Frazier questioning LeBron's character was uncalled for. Bron always been doing this every season he's been in the league, but it became a big deal because the Lakers were losing and wasn't going to make the playoffs. Nobody should ever say Bron doesn't care. Someone who went to 8 straight finals clearly cares about the game. Bron's teammates love him too, and he's never gone into any trouble outside of basketball.
And that's a fact.
Some guys, you have to take the game personal because this is how you feed your families. And some things are personal, but at the same time, you don't be a snitch like LeBron did.
Well, I don't know how Bron is a snitch for talking about the situation that happened with Draymond in the interview. The NBA decided to suspend Draymond. It didn't have anything to do with Bron.
And I mess with Stacks, but yeah, he definitely didn't have the full context when he said that shit. It wasn't like it was some unknown information. It was a reason Draymond had got a technical in that game and got suspended a game. So he was already one technical away from being suspended a game anyway. So once they called that technical when they did, because he called him the B word, then that brought on the suspension. So either way, the league already had known what Draymond said. It wasn't like Bron just said it, then they said, oh, we got to go look at it and then go ahead and penalize Dre for it. They penalized Dre right then and there in that game because they already knew what happened. They didn't need Bron to say anything for them to do what they did. Like I said, man, it's a lot of false narratives and stuff going on, but we know Stacks sometimes will say things that isn't 100% factual and stuff like that. Then that's with everybody. Even me. Sometimes I might say some things that isn't 100% factual if we're not talking in full context and stuff like that. But once you talk full context and actual evidence that will back that up, then that's when it's 100% facts right there and truthful at that. So it is what it is, man. But everybody got to stop this notion that some of the things they say is for real. Because now I'm at the point where I don't talk about anything with anybody about basketball unless you're going to bring up 100% full context, facts to back it up, and everything in between. Like, you got to make sense with your takes. You got to have the facts to back it up. You can't just be saying this and that and then say it's facts. But then, meanwhile, when I ask you to prove it, you can't prove it. So you can't say what you're saying is just 100% facts when you don't want to bring up full context, let alone have evidence to back up the claims that you said. That's just me, though.
And even if LeBron did say something, that's not being a snitch. That's being smart. When a player gets fouled and the ref doesn't call it, and a player argues the call, they don't call that snitching. This is a game that players want to win badly, so they're trying to get every advantage they can.
It's funny that your Mount Rushmore mirrors mine. Great minds think alike.
So you have LeBron as well?
No.
Okay, so the three.
No.
So it mirrors yours, but not quite.
No, I don't have LeBron.
I can't believe Jalen Rose doesn't have Bron on his Mount Rushmore. That's crazy to me. Like, what else does he have to do to make it? He's not retired yet, and he already has one of the best basketball resumes of all time.
LeBron's great. He's great. But for me, this is in my opinion.
Yeah.
He's not in the top 5 of all time.
That's so disrespectful. I think LeBron is the second best player ever, but if you don't have him there, you have to have him at least in your top 5. I could have added Paul Pierce, but I'm not gonna do that. We already know he be hating on LeBron all the time.
Shit, we all know that for a fact. Paul Pierce just hate Bron because Bron is what Paul Pierce wish he could have been. We know that for a fact. Pierce was a great player in his own right, but he wasn't the LeBron caliber best player. He didn't do the things Bron did, had the athleticism, had the shape to continue to play for so long, even into his mid to late 30s. Carry teams with a lot less, which also people don't want to talk about. The fact is, yeah, the Cavs was okay in 07, but realistically, Cavs would have never made the finals if Bron didn't do what he did in that Detroit series. People can say, oh, they didn't have Ben Wallace. They still had Billups. They had Rasheed Wallace. They had, I think, Chris Webber. They had Tayshaun Prince. They still were a great team, even without Ben Wallace. But like I said, everybody want to make up false narratives and stuff and not talk full context. We can go on and on, but this video, I don't want to make it too long. It's already long as it is, man. But let's go ahead and wrap it up.
So those are some of the dumbest things I found players saying about LeBron. Let me know what you think about these comments these players made. And if you like this video, make sure you hit that like.
That's pretty much the end of it all, man. But like I said, man, if y'all want me to make a full video about the for real 100% facts about Bron's career and shit, and the full context of his losses and everything, man, I can go ahead and do that. We could talk about Jordan's career and his competition. We could talk about Kobe and his career and his competition and stuff. At the end of the day, the real facts is we could definitely look it up and show that Bron finals competition overall to win was better than what Jordan and Kobe had to go through in their respective times they went to the finals. We can do all that, man. But like I said, man, it is what it is, though. But that's the end of this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you're brand new, man. And I'm going to see y'all later on with more videos. Peace.